With winter quickly about to be over, I hope you enjoy these 3 final tales of terror that have happened during the winter. But don't forget, spring can be just as scary. Enjoy. Number 1. The Corner. My name is Brandon. I have an identical twin brother named Bryan. Yes, our parents did decide to give us similar names. Fortunately, they never made us dress alike. We did, however, share a bedroom. We had one older brother and one older sister, but they had their own separate rooms. When we were 12, Bryan began acting a little strange. He started having a lot of problems sleeping, and I would often hear him tossing and turning in his sleep. It worried me, but I was at first very hesitant to ask him about it. It continued on, and finally when Bryan was going through his days with bloodshot eyes and dozing off in school, I brought it up to him. He didn't want to talk about it, which really hurt my feelings. He was my twin brother, and we shared everything. I pressed him on it, and he actually got angry at me and snapped, "I don't want to fucking talk about it." I was hurt, but I got the point. I didn't ask him about it again. Things got really weird during a snowstorm that winter. It started snowing that evening, and it was falling pretty heavily. I remember my dad was about to go and shovel the driveway, and I decided to offer to do it for him. It was late, and he had to work in the morning, and I just wanted to do something nice. Bryan offered to help me out, but I told him that he looked way too sleep-deprived to do anything, and he should just relax and maybe try to get some sleep. So, while the rest of the family went to bed, I went ahead outside and shoveled the driveway. I remember feeling really good about myself, doing something to help the family out. When I had shoveled and put down some salt, I went inside to take a shower and get ready to relax for a while. It had been about a couple hours since my brother had gone to bed, and I figured I could go in and get a change of clothes. I entered the bedroom and saw something that has really bugged me to this day. My twin brother was sitting on his knees and facing the wall in the far corner of the room. I stopped and was about to ask him what was going on. It was then that I heard him talking, and I will never forget the words he said. "This is our house, and you don't live here anymore. Leave my brother Brandon alone. He never did anything to you. This is our house, and you don't live here anymore. Leave my brother Brandon alone. He never did anything to you." I had no idea how to react. It was the strangest thing I'd ever seen in my life. It was like he was having a dialogue with a wall or something. I don't know how long I stood there, just listening to him repeat these words over and over again. Eventually, though, Bryan got up and turned around and looked at me. "Brandon," he said, a bit surprised that I was behind him. "Bryan," I asked, "who were you talking to?" Bryan looked a little embarrassed. He looked around the room nervously and then back over his shoulder. And then he told me he was talking to Kevin. "Who's Kevin?" I asked. Bryan just tilted his head and looked at me with his tired and bloodshot eyes. He sighed and replied, Kevin is the old man who lives in the wall. He never lets me sleep, and he wants to kill you." With that, Bryan walked over to me and gave me a huge hug. While hugging me, he cried, "I don't want you to die." I helped my brother get into bed and assured him no one was going to kill me. He fell asleep very quickly. I can't explain it, but afterward, Bryan's sleeping problems stopped. I never brought up the incident that night again, but I'll never forget it. Number 2. Cold Nightmare. I prefer winter so much over summer, and all the other seasons. I think some people think I'm crazy, but cold air is so much better. Winter clothes are so much nicer than summer clothes. It's a lot easier to keep warm than it is to keep cool. It's also easier for me to fall asleep in the cold weather. I tend to enjoy the cold weather so much that I tend to sleep with the window open in order to fall asleep faster. The only problem is that when I do this, it tends to really affect my dreams, and I sometimes have horrific nightmares. One of the worst nightmares I ever had was during a snowstorm. I was having trouble falling asleep, so I opened up the window to try and get a nice cool breeze going. I was bundled up really nice, so I began feeling good and very drowsy. In no time, I was fast asleep. The dream I had was just completely bizarre. From what I remember, I was tied up on a hospital operating table, facing up. 3 crazy-looking doctors were going through all these different and weird instruments, trying to decide what they were going to use on me. It was really cold on the operating table, and I was absolutely terrified and shivering. Finally, after talking, one of the doctors went over to my foot. He took a scalpel and began tracing the outline of my foot with the blade. It didn't hurt though, it actually felt okay, but he kept running the blade up and down my foot. I tried to pull my foot away a few times, but found that I couldn't move. I tried jerking it as the doctor kept rubbing my foot with the scalpel. After quite a few tries, I was finally successful in jerking my foot away, and the jerk caused my foot to hit the operating table. I obviously jerked my foot in real life too, and I woke right up. Looking down, I saw an arm reaching in from the window by my bed, and a hand was caressing my foot. I screamed and pulled my foot away, and the hand immediately pulled away and out the window. Reacting as quickly as I could, I reached over and slammed the window down. I watched as someone ran off into the falling snow. I couldn't make out who it was, and they were gone very quickly. I've never slept like that since, and many times when I try to lay down and I can't sleep, I feel an impulse to open the window, but then I remember that hand was on my leg, and I just can't bring myself to open the window. Number 3. Changing the tire. I had a really bad experience a few years ago when, in the middle of the night, my car broke down in the middle of nowhere. Although I had a cell phone, I didn't really have any money to afford a tow. I couldn't get in touch with any of my friends to come and help me out. I had pulled over into the parking lot of a factory, and there was not much traffic going through there. I had no option but to try and walk somewhere to find help. While I was walking, I was picked up by two men who didn't even speak any English, so we couldn't communicate since they only spoke Spanish and I don't know any. They picked me up, and I was somehow able to let them know that my car had broke down. Apparently, they had a family member or a friend, I wasn't sure, who had a tow truck, and they towed my car for free and gave me a ride home. They actually even offered to buy me something to eat. I was so touched that I knew that I had to pay it forward if I ever saw someone in a similar situation. The following winter, I was late getting out of the office one night. I was so deeply into my work that I hadn't even noticed that it started snowing outside. Close to 8 p.m., I finally decided I had to leave. To my surprise, it had snowed so hard that my car was completely covered in snow. It took me nearly half an hour to get it cleaned off decently so I could drive home. It was still snowing pretty heavily on the way home. I had to drive pretty slowly, but I was at least thankful that there were not many other cars on the road. I was very eager to get home. As I was driving, though, I saw a car on the side of the street up in the distance. It had its emergency flashing lights on. It was hard to make it out at first, but as I got closer and closer, I saw someone struggling with one of the tires. Apparently, they must have been trying to change a flat or something. At that point, I wanted nothing more than to just get home. But I remembered the kindness that was shown to me when my car broke down, and I remembered my promise to myself to pay it forward. There weren't any other cars on the street, and no one else might help even if there had been cars on the street. I went back and forth a few times, and I remembered how I felt as I was walking along the side of the road that night, and that made up my mind for me. I had to help out. I pulled my car over to the side of the road and got out of the car. It was a younger blonde woman who was having struggles. She came up to my car after I got out, thanked me profusely for stopping, and told me that she was having problems getting the hubcap off the car. I asked her to show me what she was using, and I followed her over to the car. The woman seemed a bit nervous. The first thing that I noticed was the tire really didn't look all that flat. It seemed fishy, but it seemed worse that she didn't even have a jack out or any tools to take the hubcap off. As I walked past the car, my eyes caught sight of something that nearly stopped the beating of my heart. There was someone hunkered in the back seat of the car, hiding under a blanket. They were peeking out, and I only caught them for a split second before they pulled the blanket quickly back over their face. Although I was scared and regretted stopping immediately, I tried to play it off as cool as I could. I looked at the tire and told her it shouldn't be too difficult to get the hubcap off and change the tire. I just needed to get my jack. Me telling her that was my attempt to get back into my car. She insisted that she had a jack, and she actually asked me to get it out of the back seat of her car while she looked for the appropriate place on the car to put the jack. It was the lamest excuse I'd ever heard, and she was obviously just wanting me to open the back door of her car and hope that I would be caught off guard by whoever it was in the back seat. I actually can use my own jack, I told her. I'll go get it. Well, mine would be better for my car, she blurted out quickly. Just get it out of the back seat of my car. I'll find the right part of the car to use to jack it up." I tried my best to not give away that I had noticed someone was in the back seat. I insisted that I knew how to use my own jack. She appeared to be nervous, and I saw her eyes shoot over to the back seat of her car several times. She told me that both her jack and her tire iron were in the back seat of the car, and that gave me the information I needed. I told her I'd get the jack out of my car and then get her tire iron. She accepted this, and I slowly made my way back to my car. My heart was pounding. She actually followed me. I went to open my door, telling her that I was going to have to pop the trunk. My luck may have run out then, because I saw the person in the back seat rise up and move to open the door. Forgetting everything anyone has ever told me about not striking a woman, I knocked the bitch down and out of my way. The back door opened and a man hurried out of it. He was wearing a Freddy Krueger mask, I kid you not, and he had a large tire iron in his hand. Fortunately, I had not turned my car off, so I was able to get into it and slam and lock the door very quickly. Although they both tried to get to me and get in the way, I made it very clear I had no problem hitting both of them with my car. My wheels spun, which amusingly splashed them with this vile mixture of dirty snow, and my car took off without them able to do me any harm. I got away fine, and went to the police to let them know what had happened. The worst thing about this is that it ruined for me what should have been a good experience of helping another person the way I was helped. Although I do get the desire to help people stranded on the side of the road, I just can't bring myself to do it again. Good evening. Killer Orange Cat here. You know, one of these days I should just have someone else talk in this closing, just as a surprise. I always announce it to me, and I guess that's a bit silly since you all know it's me. Anyway, if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please click the button next to the tabby in order to be notified of new content. After my last video and before this one, I hit 6,000 subscribers. I want to thank everyone who has helped me achieve that milestone. There is very little I enjoy more than working on this channel, and it means a lot to me that you all must like it too. Thank you very much. I really want to come out with more videos, and I do have a bit of stories, but I want to start adding more than just true scary stories. I might look into some creepypasta, and I might even do a narration of a serial novel that I had written back in college. If anyone likes any of those ideas, please let me know in the comments. Plus, if you have any suggestions of creepypasta that you might like to see on this channel, please let me know that as well. In closing, as always, make sure to check in your closet and under your bed, because you never know where a killer orange cat might be hiding. Good night.